Well, hello there, it's Wayne Robson again. Now, before we start the advanced compositing thing, I've got a bit of a confession to make. The render for this took about an hour, which I don't normally like rendering for too long, time's money and all that. However, I'd broken a rule, or rather the person who'd originally set up this scene that I downloaded, and I hadn't checked it. And guess what was there? Yep, an exposure. Right, I hate this sort of stuff like a passion. I always asked anybody under me, do not use any of this stuff, because if you save out a multi-channel EXR, it's going to come out like that, and everything that you've got baked in is wrong. It's useful for a whole lot of things, but it's my personal preference. Okay, that's basically the size of it, I'm afraid. So what I've had to do is down here just stick this grade node on to take it down a bit. So I've just taken it down to 0.31. So it looks roughly the same. Is it mathematically correct? Probably not, but I really couldn't be bothered, to be honest. Right, so this is the same sort of setup as our... I do apologise for that. That means it's now midday and my phone insists on doing that. I normally have it downstairs, but basically you have to deal with it. So we've got lighting, GI, reflection, refraction, specular. We've got the ambient occlusion pass. We've got multi-channel, which to be honest, don't actually need, but I'll keep it there just in case. And a couple of multi-mats. This is our basic composite that we showed in an earlier video. I'm going to expand this to a more advanced version. So let's first of all look at the GI. Now we have the GI here, so what we're going to do with the GI is we want raw GI in that, right? So I'll now put raw on here, so I know what I'm doing. This one will be diffuse filter, like that. Now I need to add a merge node here, right? So we have that, multiply them together, and it'll give us this result, right? Now if I temporarily take this back to the GI and then just go to there, you'll see it's the same thing, right? That's what you're doing. You're producing the GI by a different method. Now it is sometimes considered good practice, if you need a raw GI pass, to extract it from the GI pass, and it'll sometimes have a lot less noise. All right? That's just the way that they calculate it. It doesn't matter on the render engine. And you can do that instead of multiplying, you can divide. So if I divided the diffuse filter by the GI, I would then get the raw GI. Okay? So that's the maths behind it. Sort of thing I have to do every day. Right, so reflection. I'm going to do the same sort of thing. We need that on raw reflection. This one here has got to be over here, and we're going to have that on reflection filter. Right, so I'm going to put that in here. I've just changed the bloody thing, haven't I? Raw reflection, where are you at? There you are. So raw reflection. This one here, reflection filter. Like that. Same sort of thing. We got a merge node. Stick that onto there. My mouse is not playing well nicely today. So that would give us our reflection pass, right? So you might be thinking, well, why do I need all these things? Why can't I just color correct the reflection? You can, but the reflection filter gives us completely different information to the raw reflection, which hasn't got any color from the objects and materials in the scene, only from the lights, okay? So you may want to use, say, a matte and the reflection from the window, just change that, but without changing the actual amount of reflection as well. So, which could happen if you just had the raw pass itself. So the refraction, which is now going to be raw refraction, like that. And we go raw refraction. For those of you not aware, I am using V-Ray as a render engine. Reason for that's quite simple, because I work as an external contractor for Kiosk Group, and it means I don't have to think, because there's nothing worse than having to change render regions. Because if you do, suddenly get confused. I can't afford that, you know, with a day job being you don't want to be jumping backwards and forwards basically. Now I'll have to change that to multiply. Right, so we've got them there. The specular, we don't need to do anything with that. The ambient occlusion, in case you're wondering, looks like this. So what we could do is just grade that a little bit darker like that. Another trick is, you know, you can blur it to add a bit more going on. You know, you can blur it a bit just to soften it down a bit. That, of course, is a multiply. The alpha channel, which you're probably not going to need. I've shuffled that in, and it's not really doing a whole lot, so ignore that. Now, the Z defocus at the moment, I've already had set up. It's the same as we've showed in the previous video. Focal plane. So what I wanted it to be in focus was the sofa in this part of the window, and the little sticky up bits because it sort of looked nice. That's all I've done. Took about 5 seconds to do. So we've got our basic composite here, and we've expanded it to be an advanced one. Now this is a bit of a bloody mess, right? I'm the first to admit this, and normally I'd go over and OCD the shit out of it by making sure this is all really well organized. But if I do that, it's going to extend the video massively, right? And that's the last thing that I want to do. It would be a bad idea, you know, I just use up time that we don't need. Now, you can actually do the lighting as well and separate that out. So if I do shuffle this in here, we can take in here, and that's going to be the matte shadow. Put it into here. There's a few ways you can put advanced comps together. This is meant mainly just to show one possible way. Do I actually have raw lighting here? Have I forgot to put raw lighting? I have raw total lighting. Unfortunately, that does not look like the right one. Aha. So we'll have to avoid. Normally you'd have that, and you'd add those together, and then put it into here instead of your lighting, right? But at the moment, we'll just ignore that because I forgot to render it out. Isn't that amazing? Right, so we've got this, you know, nice little comp going on. We could turn up the ambient occlusion a little bit. We have 2 multi-mats, that one and that one, right? Now, I'm going to stop recording the video because in a minute what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to use a UV, well, basically, tell you what we'll do first of all, without any other stuff. We'll just do some color correction just because I've done that before. Alright, and it's fairly quick to do. Before I want to do some retexturing, but I'd rather roll it into a different video for 2 reasons. One, it makes more sense, is a separate video, and secondly, it means I've got an extra video then. Yeah. So let's just add a bloody grade node into here. Da-doing. Now we're going to find out what do we want to color correct. Well, let's start in the sofa because I've got plans for the wall, for retexturing the wall. So I'm just basically going to shuffle under here, put all the red channels in there like that. We'll yank this down here. Alright. Connect this onto here. The doing. Put this at the bottom of here. Right, now what do we want to do with this bloody thing? Well, we could do a number of things. We could have desaturated it if we want. We can change the colour. That's always a cool one, you know. But we're multiplying it by the colour that's already there. So we've got blue multiplied by that. I would probably back this the hell off a bit. So we've done some basic stuff. I'm going to pause the video. As I say, I want to show you how to retexture, and it will be a second video on this. Bye bye.